Yeah. Thanks.
Ready to rock?
I'm ready.
Unmuted.
We are good to go.
Good. Hey, good evening, everyone. It's October 7th, Select Board meeting. You see, if you're on the screen, that Phil is visiting us remotely, and so I will be chairing the meeting tonight. So our first agenda item is the Select Board minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the Select Board minutes? So moved. Is there a second? I'll second. Any discussion on the minutes?
Tom, I think we should clarify when Bruce Merritt made a comment about the Energy Committee, we should make sure that it's clear that the Energy Committee is disbanded at this time.
Okay. I will make that change and make sure we get those to Shane.
And then which Western Star did we choose, the 275 or the 290K one?
Which truck?
The 275.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the Western Star. I will make that clear.
Anything else, Phil?
No, that's it.
Anybody else? All those in favor of approving the minutes as edited, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Next order is the orders. Have a motion to approve the orders.
Make a motion to approve the, this is up to October 7th, 24.
Is there a second?
Oh, second.
Discussion?
Just have one, maybe two questions. The Evans motor fuel.
Yep.
So it looks like we're using about 500 gallons a week in diesel. Is that pretty average?
Yeah, that's been on par with where we've been.
Okay.
Okay.
And then this just might be an accounting thing, but under Green Mountain Power and under Martinsville Dam,
Okay.
this is the activity center listed there twice. And there's a lot of items listed under Green Mountain Power. So I think it's just confusion, at least in my head, of who we're paying for what, right? Because 5 of the properties should be from the Martinsville Dam.
So you're seeing the activity center under Martinsville Hydro Corp.
And under Green Mountain Power.
Yeah.
So it looked like everything hit Green Mountain Power. And then there was another set of bills under Martinsville, which you'd expect. So the question is really, why did everything hit Green Mountain Power as well?
I know.
But yeah, I'm sure there's a reason. It's just, I can't understand.
I'm assuming Martinsville isn't making much electricity right now.
Oh, because of the water, you think?
Yeah.
Water draw, no electricity.
Any other questions?
John, on page 3, the payment to Ferguson for almost $1,800, was that the culvert itself on Draper Road, or was that we did that work ourselves? Or
We did that work ourselves. We did that work ourselves, correct. We did the culvert and some waste blocks for that project.
And I can't help but notice on page 4 that rather large payment to the school, which is the essence of why we're talking to our visitors tonight.
Yep, that's the first payment to the school.
There's an accounting issue in my head around that payment too. It's only, double that payment is only around $9 million, and I thought the school budget was closer to 11. I'm just wondering if some money goes to the school, some to the state, or if we'll end up paying.
So we have a short window to talk with the officials from the state. So is there any other questions? Hearing none, all those in favor of accepting the orders? Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Motion carried. Next agenda item is public comment. And John, do you want to introduce our guests?
Sure. So we have two folks online. We have who work for PVR, which is Property Evaluation and Review. So we have Christy Wright and Jen Myers. Jen is the local district rep, and Stacy is the
she's a district advisor and a field director.
So another district advisor and field director. So we have two additional people online with us to talk about reappraisal and appraisal questions. With that, Phil, did you want to jump
Yes,
in?
I'd like to make just a few comments. Christy and Jen, thank you for coming for this take two of a discussion. Thank you very much. The list of our town projects is very long and they carry a very large cost, which can only be covered by town taxes.
Agenda and do public comments.
A significant portion of our tax bill is the funding of our school. In a September 11th article in Vermont Digger, the writer carried a story on a recent letter from Governor Scott to the state education community. I'm sure you've all read that or heard about it by now. Scott wrote, because $69 million of one-time money was taken from the education fund to buy down property taxes, there is already a large financial gap going into the next fiscal year. Combine this with our pressing needs on the town side of our local budget, and we indeed have a property tax crisis. I'll now turn to John, who has a series of questions that we hope will shed light on possible solutions for Hartland to consider to how to get out of this jam that we all are in.
Thanks, Bill. And so I have questions that I think, have come out of a conversation from the board. So this is not a one-way conversation by any means from folks up here. So one of the questions is, it'd be great to get your input or insight into what's driving kind of the statewide CLA issues. We're in the low 60s, Hartford's in the mid 60s, Woodstock's in the mid 60s. There seems to be a regional effect in the White River Valley. Can you speak to that, or is this a statewide issue?
Sorry, I was trying to unmute myself. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. It's absolutely a statewide issue. It's absolutely the market. It's the real estate market. We're in extreme conditions where people are paying astronomical prices statewide, and it's that obviously drives the change in CLA because a lot of towns haven't reappraised for a while, so we just can't keep up with a market like this. And it's not unusual for us to now see CLAs in the 60s. I believe our overall statewide average last year was 75 or somewhere around there. And I anticipate it'll be lower than that this year. So it's definitely statewide.
Okay.
Can I just have a follow-up? So I looked through the statewide property tax increases by town, and it seemed as though this area of the Upper Valley had the more significant increases in their property taxes compared to others places in the state. Killington, for instance, Norwich, Hartland, etc. Is it because our property values are increasing at an even higher rate than the state average?
I can't speak without knowing what your spending is, but my first guess would be it would have to do with your education spending relative to other towns that perhaps didn't increase as much. That would be the first go-to, because obviously that's a big indicator of what the school tax rates are driven by. The non-homestead rate is driven by overall school spending statewide, right? but the homestead rate is more triggered by your individual school spending. So if that school spending went up and also combination of the number of pupils you have, if that went down or if that changed, it would affect the amount of your education rate directly. So that would be my first guess, although without digging it apart or asking the questions specifically, I don't know.
Sure, thank you. So you just touched on one of the other questions that we have. So what opportunities exist to have a reappraisal done more quickly? You know, we have a draft RFP that's getting ready to be sent out, but we're talking 2028. You just referenced that the CLA is in the mid 70s and going down. So we're talking 4 or 5 more years potentially. Is there something that can be done to expedite that process from the town of Hartland?
Really not now. If you're just getting on board to send out RFPs and whatever right now, I would guess anybody that's contracting is going to tell you probably 2029 at this point. Just because there's not a lot of contractors statewide and they're already booked up. So I'm going to guess that's probably the best you're going to do right now. I don't really have a magical answer other than that. That's just kind of also one of the constraints we're under. I think that all I would add to that is if you feel like your values are somewhat equitable and fair across the board, then in theory, the CLA is doing its job by adjusting that rate to keep everybody on the even keel. So while we know we need a reappraisal, if you feel okay about your equity in the meantime, the argument would be that hopefully that CLA is doing its job. Obviously, none of us like our increase in taxes. None of us like our increase in value. We all live it. We all feel it. I don't have a magic answer for that one, nor does anyone.
Can I ask a follow-up to that? Yeah. So if say my house is worth $100,000, and because of the CLA, it gets valued for taxes at $120,000, and that's what I'm going to pay my taxes on. If you reappraise it, and my house value goes up to $120,000, and the CLA no longer adjusts me, I'm still paying the same amount of tax, am I not? So should we expect the taxes would go down if we did a reappraisal, or stay the same?
I would never guarantee anything to anyone as far as whether or not their taxes would go down. In theory, okay, assuming that CLA was exactly right, then you'd be absolutely right. The problem is our CLA actually gives you a little bit of cushion because we use 3 years of sales, right? So the market's getting worse, so it's getting worse as time goes by, but we use 3 years of sales, so you've got a little bit of cushion in a lesser market the last 2 years. If we used 1 year, you'd be even worse off.
Right, but if the market goes down, then that works against you.
So I think what's going to happen is you're going to see that what you might be adjusted at it, let's say it was 120, right, is really probably 170. Our estimate is 120, but you really probably want, I'm just throwing out numbers here, but it's not, we're insulating it from being as bad as the increase actually. You'd even see a bigger increase. And thus, unfortunately, a bigger increase in taxes. I can't, without all the other things that affect it, it's really hard to estimate these things. But I would never anyone their taxes.
I think the point I'm driving at is the CLA didn't make our taxes high. The spending makes our taxes high. Right? The CLA just creates additional mathematical gymnastics that you have to go through.
100%. And I think that's where we kind of lose it because a lot of times everybody wants to blame everything on the CLA, but you really got to dig into the spending.
It is, if we're looking at 5 years before we do a reappraisal, can you talk to us about a statistical reappraisal and when that's appropriate or if that's an option for the town?
So a statistical reappraisal means that you wouldn't be visiting the properties. You would be, you do a small sample and then you would be adjusting all of your schedules behind the scenes. So a statistical really triggers on, am I equitable throughout my town so that I can adjust those schedules behind the scene and not worsen my equity. So the first thing you'd have to determine is, what's your COD, which is your coefficient of dispersion that measures that, and how good is my data, right? Did I get into a lot of properties last time? Am I confident that my data is good? Also, we recommend not any more than 5 years out of reappraisal that you do it, just because that data has a tendency to get old, right? Somebody finished off their basement, somebody did something interior you didn't know about. So it becomes harder and harder to be confident that you can adjust those schedules behind the scene and not have it blow up in your face, so to speak.
So but you'd almost need to do this statistical appraisal this year and an RFP this year, so you get the full appraisal done in 2029.
So that's certainly an option. The question is, could you get a professional in there to even do a statistical? And I don't know that you could.
Are there qualified professionals who can do statistical reappraisals than a full reappraisal?
It would be the same folks.
The same folks.
Yeah.
So we're fighting the same battle in that there's just not enough folks.
Right. I mean, certainly ask the contractors that we have. The only bonus there is the statistical is less resources for them. I just don't think there's any way you're going to get it done in another year or so.
So what if our coefficient of dispersion is way off, though? What if
it's way off, then that indicates to me that you have some inconsistencies in either your data or, your consistency as far as whether or not you got into a lot of places. It's not necessarily anyone's fault, but it could be out of whack, which means you certainly wouldn't want to do a statistical, because I kind of say it's like putting a Band-Aid on an open wound. If you adjust all those schedules behind the scene and you don't have equity, that COD is going to get even worse. And you're going to end up spending your money, and we're going to tell you got to do another reappraisal anyway. So you wouldn't want to do that.
Other questions as relates? Go ahead, Chrissy, go ahead. Finish that thought.
Know what your COD is at the moment? If not, I can look it up.
Right around 26%.
Right around 26%.
Pretty bad.
So unless you know for sure where those inequities are, you don't want to do a statistical, because that's going to blow up on you. You don't want to do it. It's just going to get worse.
A statistical, if there are errors, those are only exacerbated to a greater degree, right?
Exactly.
Other questions from the board? Phil, did you have anything?
I'd like to go back to the equity piece, which concerns me in town. Our town has a lot of struggling taxpayers. John, I'm trying to come up with a question do you have that question I sent to you today?
No, I did not write it down when we were speaking.
Okay, I'll get it. Let someone else ask a question while I get this.
So legitimately, the only thing I've heard from people in town are they're panic stricken over the word reappraisal. They feel that it's just immediately going to mean that we're going to pay more taxes again when we're reappraised, because that's what they're assuming. Okay, so what do we tell them that is the truth about reappraisal and how it's going to adjust what we pay in the future if we have a reappraisal? So, people are definitely upset because of the increase in taxes that we got this year, and the word reappraisal definitely means to them that it's going to go up again, and they, no matter what argument they try to come up with.
Is that John, or for you?
No, if you want to answer that one, Christy, by all means.
I mean, if I were you, first thing I would say to folks is, we have to look at the spending and we have to talk to our legislators about how the calculation is done. So there's a few things. We have to talk to our school board. We have to work on spending. We have to talk to our legislators about how we're adjusting school spending and so forth. So those are a couple of things. I can't guarantee, nor can you, that the taxes will not go up. I never would and never say that. And I don't think you should either. But I think the important part for you that I would try to drive home is we need to make things fair from one person to another within our town. And some people are paying a higher burden than others, and that's not fair, which is exactly what the COD measures. So we want to make it fair across the board.
Or equally unfair.
How do they make that?
Equitable.
I know you hate the word fair.
That word is to be thrown out of the dictionary. How do you make that fair? How do you look at my property and somebody else's property?
Our property is the equivalent. I'm paying on 80,000 and you're paying on 100. That's not fair. We should both be paying on 90.
Exactly. Like I was paying on 120% of the fair market value of my property, and you were paying on 60% of the fair market value of your property. Would that be fair taxation?
Yeah. And I think this is that's the COD. And Phil, I don't know if you have your question, but this is, I think, we're kind of getting to the point I think you wanted to make, correct?
Yes, I mean, this is the gist of it right there, that I think we have a lack of equity within our tax rates already, and we need to solve that solution. So ultimately, John, I think the final question or another question is, what can we do? I mean, we can kick around all these variables all evening, but I'm looking at state representatives, and we hope that you would come this evening with some suggestions as to how to get out of this situation we're in. 2029 is quite far away.
So, Christy, so we know we have a COD of 26%. So you're saying now we're going to have to wait 5 years before we can rectify that coefficient, which could over time exacerbate that, right?
The only thing you can aside from that is try to dig into it and see if there's a reason or a piece of your market that's changing your COD. I mean, I don't know your town very well, but let me just give you an example. Like a town that had a lake or something, that might cause a COD problem because the values are increasing higher on the lake than off the lake. Okay. Or if you had condos or something like that, there may be pockets of the market that are creating that problem in COD. So you could dig it apart and try to figure that out. Aside from that, if it's just data quality and lack of, consistency in the data or whatever, then there's nothing you can do other than wait for a reappraisal.
So what if we dig it out and we actually see where it is? We say homes that are valued at $250,000 or appraised at $200 are actually selling for $450,000 or whatever. Is there an interim measure we can take?
The only interim measure you could take would be possibly a partial reappraisal, but you wouldn't do that based on the indicators that you're talking about, because that's a value piece, right? So that's likely. Right. But let's say we had mobile home parks and they were far different in the market and changing that COD different than the rest of the town. A pocket could say, okay, we're going to reappraise that section. that's just a thought that you could go through, and maybe Stacy already has. I don't know how much she's dug into the data. Maybe she's talked about some of these things and decided that it wasn't really fruitful, but those are some thoughts.
Okay. Does anybody in the audience have any questions on this? We have them for another 5 minutes, so I don't want to leave anybody out. Anybody online have a question?
There are no questions in the chat.
Hey. Where's my raise hand thing?
It's okay. Go ahead, Kurt.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yep.
Good thing I didn't swear, eh? Or say something about Phil because he's not there. So this has always been a logical question to me, and that is that the state calculated at the state level what the values of properties were in Hartland based on their anticipated change in value from the last time the grand list was checked. And at one point, Stacy, I believe, said that she had checked a few of the properties against what the state estimated they were, and they were fairly accurate. And then the taxes were based on those estimated values. So rushing to spend money and get a reappraisal, why wouldn't that just come very close to documenting what you're already paying taxes on?
So I'm gonna correct you a little bit, because what we at the state, and that's a big conglomeration, not just me. What we do is we study actual sales that have occurred within your town compared to the assessed value at the town. So we're not reappraising anything. What we're comparing is what things are actually selling for fair market value to what the listers have them assessed for, to say what level of appraisal you're at. Okay. So that's the first piece of it. And I think you're on to what we were originally talking about, which is the common level of appraisal, or CLA, which adjusts your tax rate, is adjusting for that difference. Assuming that all things were the same and everyone was on the equal plane, then it would be taking care of it exactly.
Right. So based a little bit on what Stacy has said in the past, that's a probable situation. So pinning some kind of tax, cost of taxes basis benefit on reappraisal when there's a very good chance that it's not going to change much because the state did a good job of estimating.
Right. I think, Kurt, the issue is when you reappraise, everybody's paying fairly based on their assessed value. Where right now you don't know if people's assessed value is fair.
That's true. There'll be differences from property A to property B, which may not be reflected, in the state estimate.
Right.
Small sample size.
Okay. Anything else for Chris or Jen before they need to jump off? Jerry.
If we don't have,
I'm done.
if we aren't reappraised for another 5 years, that means we as taxpayers pay that price for that differences in the next 5 years, regarding the CLA, right? So I mean, if we can't get the people here to do that when we need them, we have to wait 5 years. So how does that affect the taxpayers? Because it's not our problem as far as.
Because then you can do right after second.
That's okay.
Okay.
Did you hear that, Christy?
I heard a piece of it, and I think that, again, that's what we were talking about before. So that CLA is adjusting your rate so that you fair market value. If you did a reappraisal, you would have your fair market value or assessed value increased, and that adjusts would either go away entirely or not be so much. So in theory, it's equal basis. We're either increasing your rate or we're increasing your value to get you to pay on 100%. That's the theory.
I have a follow-up question, if I may. So the town of Hartland pays X amount of dollars into the education fund to pay for the statewide education budget with adjustments for equalized pupil value and so forth. But if Hartland has to come up with, just taking a figure out of the air, $1 million, and we change the value of property A and property B to adjust to a more reasonable fair market value, the town's still going to have to come up with $1 million.
Right.
So the only difference is going to be who pays what percentage of the $1 million.
Right.
Correct.
So it is 6 o'clock by my watch. Christy, I want to thank you very much for taking time out to talk to us. I think you clarified things. It's a very complex issue, but
it made us all more depressed.
But thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
I wish I had, but I don't.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Can I just do a housekeeping thing?
Yeah, hold on. I'll get to it in 1 second. Just any follow-up with anybody? You can ask Stacy something if you want. Didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's okay. I will wait my turn. I know I'm later in the agenda, but I, can certainly expand upon anything or answer further questions you might have.
Okay, what Jim is referring to is I skipped over number 2, which is adjustments to the agenda. And one of the adjustments actually was that we brought public comments up to the very beginning of the meeting. And so that was the adjustment. Is there any other adjustments that we want to make to the agenda tonight?
None from me.
So can I get a motion to approve the agenda with the adjustment?
I'll make a motion that we approve the adjustment to the agenda that brought our state reps in earlier on the agenda.
Is there a second?
A second.
Any discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, thank you. Okay, next under old business is Mill Street, North Hartland. We see that John is here tonight. So there was an incident in North Hartland over the weekend. This past weekend, where we had an issue with ambulance services to a residence on Mill Street. And I think as part of the board, we apologize to the people where this occurred. We've had a lot of discussion about this, and so we'd like to hear from you, or John. I don't know if you have any statement you want to make. I'd like to also just say is we don't want to condemn anyone for this. We had there was some gaps in communication, and hopefully we now, through John's efforts and the fire department's efforts, and we think we'll be able to resolve this. So I don't know who or anyone.
I'm happy to speak for a bit.
Sure, go ahead.
Or I can be quiet. Let's call him on.
So I can just update everybody. As of an hour ago, basically, we have there's been a lot of work that has been going on behind the scenes past week, in terms of trying to figure out, first what happened and how we came to this situation, and also what can be done to resolve it. The answer, and then John has been working with Hartford Dispatch and Hartford Fire on this, and can speak to it in more detail than I can, is that the town of Windsor has multiple ambulances that are small and light and fit across the bridge. They've tested it. They're under the weight limit. And so now the houses on essentially the north side of the covered bridges will be dispatched by Hartford Dispatch, and the call goes to the Windsor ambulances. It's Windsor Ambulance 3 and 4, I believe is what it was. And at the same time, Hartford Fire will respond with one of their smaller trucks, but through the Quarry Road gate as well. So there's actually two emergency service providers being dispatched at the same time.
They'll respond. The A plan is that Hartford will respond in a pickup truck with 2 emergency responders and make it there in if you believe Google, 7 to 8 minutes for them to get there from their station. Windsor will respond from their station with one of these 2 ambulances, assuming it's available, and they will get there within 17 minutes, if you believe Google. So there'll be primary care at a normal dispatch, at a normal time as if Hartford were coming, and it'll be more of a winter safe kind of situation. It'll be a flat arrival over the bridges to the residences. We don't have to worry about the slope that comes up a lot. If for some reason one of those 2 ambulances in Windsor, which weigh 8,700 pounds, they were just weighed, is not available because they're both out doing something else, then the backup plan, the B plan, is that we would have Hartford respond through the back gate, through the Quarry Road gate, and then come in with one of their conventional heavy ambulance rigs the back way. But Hartford's A plan would be to come in the faster way through Mill Street and northbound.
So the truck that Hartford is responding with also fits and is light enough to cross.
I believe this plan is a pickup utility truck.
Okay. So that was just finalized as of very recently.
I have a memo that's basically, if your select board agrees, we will issue this memo to the Hartford crew tomorrow. And it'll all be finalized. I think and Chief McAllister from Windsor and I started this whole discussion, making sure he was okay with doing this sort of amended ambulance coverage. And he's verbally, we're on board with it. We'll probably share this memo with Windsor just so they have the awareness and document that follows along. It probably deserves a Windsor ambulance amendment because they're covering 9 more houses than they were before. And Hartford is continuing to cover those houses, just not with the transport capability as the paper plan. So my guidance is probably not to change the Hartford ambulance coverage plan, but to amend the Windsor ambulance coverage plan.
Okay.
So it was just to say, this was a really terrible situation for the people on Mill Street, and I totally sympathize with them. I did not participate in the listserv discussion on this, but I took it upon myself to try to research the options, and I had just learned about these new ambulances that were put into service only about 3 weeks ago, and we really are fortunate that Windsor happened to get these van ambulances as a response capability, and they just happen to fit our problem perfectly. So we really kind of lucked out here with this solution. I think it's a really good one. I think it's a win-win.
Folks on Mill Street, what would you like to say to us, or?
20 minutes is a long time.
Second.
20 minutes is a long time.
Absolutely.
And we'll see if it works. I mean, this has happened 3 times, and every time we get told there's a new plan. So we don't have much faith in what we're told. The winter is a complete abortion because half the time the hill doesn't get plowed anyway, until a day or 2 after the storm. So we're working now with Twin State, and we're also working to upgrade what we call the Class 4 portion of Mill Street so that it can accommodate fields, but it's going to be treated just, and I want to speak for the town, but my understanding is it'll be treated just like any other road in town from now on. Right. And we're going to try to improve that road so to make it easier. My understanding also is that there's going to be ongoing training with the different response teams so that they know about the codes and the lockbox and things like this as well.
Yeah, so we've committed to maintaining the Quarry Road down the hill through the winter. Previously, I think we would rely on Twin State to plow it when they needed it, and we would drive across it and then plow Mill Street. So, but as of earlier this summer, basically, we had committed to plowing that all the time, you know, as opposed to driving over the snow. So.
Well, each time they came to plow last year, they would come with a pickup truck, plow up, and then they'd leave.
Right.
And then either later that day or the next day, they would come back and they would plow up the hill. I don't know what sense it makes to plow all that snow uphill, but.
They don't plow the day it snows. And you already know that because I sent you pictures all last winter. At least 4 times I sent you pictures and messages that, hey, the hill didn't even get plowed today. And it's a day or two after it's done snowing before they come.
In fairness, I totally hear you, what you're saying. I think a lot of our experience last year was very similar because we had trucks that were out of service and we had staffing issues on the plowing side. So we were kind of across the entire town faced with an inability to get the plowing done.
But so we, as a board, I think many of you were here for the bridge discussion about how long it's going to take to repair the bridge. You know, in all candor, at this point, it doesn't look like we're really going to be able to get the bridge to a standard where it's going to allow us to have typical types of vehicles. We are working really hard with Twin State Sand and Gravel and with the Greater Upper Valley Solid Waste District. And I think the only option truly we have is to treat, like I said earlier, that I'll call Mill Street extension like any other road in town. And that's the best
And you
option.
better put some signs up, because if my grandkids get hit because people are flying up that road or down that hill, there's gonna be a lot of problems.
I don't think we're saying we're not opening it to traffic, we're just gonna make sure it's maintained.
Yeah, but
As well as every other.
yeah, but we get traffic all day long. That's what you guys don't get. I asked before, last year I asked for a sign that says no outlet, dead end. I don't care what it says. But we get traffic all day long. I went out to my dumpster the other morning. I got a car from, where did I tell you, he's from Florida. He's at least 40 miles an hour coming up the road. Not realizing there's a gate.
Yeah, we can do something.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, you know, now he stops and he's trying to get turned around.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we have this constant, and now with the leaves, it's every day we have traffic coming down that road. And the farmers have just now recently got done with their corn, but when they do the corn, they don't ever close the gate. So we get cars up and down the hill all day long.
So a sign, we can get a sign, we can get a sign installed.
Yeah, that's easy.
I mean, but it needs to be down by the bridges because I understand a lot of people come and take pictures. That's great. You know, they want pictures of the bridges. That's great. Put it down.
Yeah.
But there needs to be something to let them know when they get down to the end, they can't go anywhere.
Right. Yeah, no, certainly this can't be up at the end of the road, but down below. Yeah.
Right. To let them know before they get all the way to the end.
Yeah.
That you can't get out down that way.
We can do that.
I'm at the beginning of the street, I'm at 55 on the street, and the traffic right now is unbelievable. Every day, they park, along the side of the road, they park in our driveway, they turn around in our driveway, or they continue
Well,
to the end of the street and then
sign
realize
on the
they can't get out
Right.
and turn around in your driveway.
Right across from Sweet's old house, there's a sign on the fence that says fire lane, no parking. Has that ever been cleared out? No.
No.
Nobody can see that sign behind all that brush and, you know.
And there's a sign on the gate that goes down, to the waterfall that says no parking anytime.
Right.
People just totally ignore it.
But you also have what added to some of the problem is between the two bridges, on the right, there's a little pull-off. That's where a lot of people used to pull off and park to take pictures or what have you. Now you have the White House prior to the bridges, right across from the dam, running a B&B or whatever he's running out of there, and he uses that for parking for his guests now. So, I mean, these people don't really have a place to
Great information. Yes, but I think, town manager and a road foreman will go and look at the sign and figure out what needs to be changed, and we can always throw the sheriff down.
I mean,
there.
they can't even see the
Party
speaker
tickets.
anymore. It's behind our trees.
Yeah.
And just when they come and cut the brush back on either sides of the road, they might as well not even bother.
Yeah, so signage is a thing, I can talk to the road foreman this week about it. We can get signs ordered and get them installed for sure.
But as part of maintaining that hill, are you gonna widen that at all?
So that's
Right
it,
now, if you're coming down, you cannot see around the corner.
right? So we recognize that it's not our land, so we have to work in partnership with, the property owners. And, to be perfectly honest, it's something that's a discussion point, but given the capacity of the highway department right now, it's something that's gonna happen immediately.
Right, but from that road to the interstate should be state land anyway. That's the sign of the road on the white out, that corner.
State land meaning in the right of way because of the interstate?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's only to the edge. So full disclosure, I'm the district manager for Greater Upper Valley. So we own part of that class 4 road right by where the compost facility is and stuff. Then it goes into Hartford, then it goes back into Hartland. And so it's kind of a mess. So
But the corner I'm talking about.
We own part.
you're talking about going down a little bit after the first gate on the flat, heading south, that corner there? Yeah. We're gonna try to fix that.
Because that's the one there, if you come over the top, you can't see around that corner right now, and then it's one lane. Right now, it's not that big of an issue because apartments are done, but when they're trying to go up and down it,
I know.
you meet in the middle, somebody's gotta back up quick, because they're not stopping.
No.
Coming down.
So, but please continue to come and to talk to John. We really want to try to resolve this. We know you're in an unfortunate situation where you live, but the news we got, like I said, when we had the bridge study, we're just not going to resolve this. So we're going to have to make do with what we have. We'll help with signs and so on. I hate to tell you this. I found out Google Maps, that road is on Google Maps for going to see foliage. And good luck getting that off Google Maps.
Right, yeah.
And so,
They're gonna slow down. They're gonna slow down.
We have a contact for Google. Can we petition to remove that?
If there's somebody to contact, I mean, I think we could start the conversation. I don't anticipate that would happen very quickly, but absolutely.
We know it's on Google because we get all the new Domino's drivers from that.
You get a pizza out of the deal? So.
Do we know when they're gonna come and do any of the work on the bridge before winter, which was spoke about at the last meeting? Because they said that there was something that had to be done before winter.
John and Tom, could you please ask folks to identify themselves? Being away, I can't quite hear them when they're in the audience. And second, there's questions in the chat room.
Yeah, I was just looking at the questions right now, Phil. So Tina Avery was just asking a question about bridge repairs. Tina, can you?
It was when the state was here and they were going over everything and said there was some work that had to be done before winter.
Great.
Maintenance, yeah. There was some short-term
Drainage or something.
some short-term solutions, but there's no actual bridge work being done. They just had the covered bridge meeting on this past Wednesday, where they talked about the Willard covered bridge, so the older of the two bridges, and they continue to work with their engineering firm. And when I left the meeting, they were talking potentially doing bridge repairs in 2028, but nothing before then.
What do we have in chat?
So, yeah, sorry. There's a message from Kara, who I think her last name might be Hall, is primarily concerned with access for ambulances and services such as oil deliveries, etc. An open access for all the necessary services would be much appreciated. there's a question about why does the gate need to be closed? And then the closed gate at the end of Mill Street is very challenging for delivery services. Is at the bottom of a very steep hill. And then, there you go. So kind of similar questions that we were getting, you know, in the room here.
I mean, I think that gate that they're referencing is not locked, right?
That's accurate. It has a chain wrap and it's not locked.
So maybe if that's causing a dangerous situation against more signage, right, do not enter.
Right.
Then maybe the chain just comes off, right?
And I can't speak to delivery services about, you know, because I know one of the questions that's come up is, you know, box trucks and things like that, you know, can't go across the bridge. So I don't know that we have a solution to that
So
one.
common services, so for instance, fuel oil delivery, they can contact Twin State or the town and we'll actually give you the code to get through the Quarry Road, the big, I'll call it the larger gate right on Quarry Road. So you can have your services. Where we struggle a little bit is trying to figure out Christmas time and so on when Amazon and all these deliveries come at weird hours. You know, so again, wearing my Greater Upper Valley hat here, we've had vandalism both at Twin State and at Greater Upper Valley when we leave that gate open 24/7. We can't do it.
Yeah, but that gate's not really the big issue, because that gate is normally open from 7 in the morning till 5 at night. So all the delivery companies I've talked to don't have an issue with that gate.
We're more concerned about emergency deliveries. If you run out of fuel and it's 8 o'clock at night or 9 o'clock at night, we want to make sure you can get there. We don't want people to be cold. So that's what
But like was said earlier, you know, there isn't gonna be anything immediate done with the health. That's more a factor with your services than anything. Because garbage services won't come in, you know, fuel companies won't come in. They tell you straight up, they're not sending trucks down that hill. I mean, they had, one of the garbage ones there.
Yeah, more waste.
More waste. They said it, they came in a number of times last winter, and they just stopped at the top of the hill. They get out, they look, and they said, we're not going down, because it just hasn't been maintained.
Okay.
You know, and I complained about that all last winter, that, you know, hey, it's just not plowed on a regular basis, it's not sanded on a regular basis, and, you know, now we pay the price because you can't get certain services. I think there's one oil company left that is willing to come in right now.
Maybe just do a quick recap first. So we're talking about, looking at the signage, clearing brush, potentially removing the chain on the gate and putting signage there to keep, tourists from driving.
Well, if you remove the chain, you're gonna have a lot more traffic.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I think we want to.
Everything else now that.
It's 6 one, half a dozen another. If you're coming down, you're saying that chain's a problem.
No, nobody said that chain was a problem.
There's somebody in the chat did.
The only one that said the chain would be a problem was the farmers, because they can't stop at the bottom of the hill.
Okay.
Because they don't maintain the brakes on the bridge. Nobody else. I mean, the garbage people that come in, they come down, they know it's there, they stop, they open the gate. If I happen to be around, I tell them, hey, just go do whatever and just drive straight up the hill. I'll close the gate behind you.
Just to clarify, there is the halls, I believe it's Carroll Hall online, said the gate being closed is a problem. So I don't think that the gate's open discussion at this point, but signage, clearing the brush, and signage for multiple signage, so no parking in between, signage that it's not a through road, and then clearing the brush away from the speed limit signs and the existing signs that are there.
And then maybe get the Windsor County Sheriff to go in occasionally and do some policing.
Correct. Yeah.
He has been up a couple of times.
Yeah.
I have seen him.
Okay. And you got the constable right there, so.
But he's not back until like 6:30.
Okay.
So,
Anybody else?
Yeah. There's no other.
The last piece, John, it sounds like we need a more formal snow clearing regimen.
Right. So I've spoken with the road department about it, and we're in agreement about what we're going to be doing this winter.
We're also going to be seeing, I just spoke with Twin State this afternoon, and we're going to be revising the agreement we have now And we're gonna be adding snow clearing and so on to that. So you'll be seeing that probably for the next meeting.
I'm just gonna make a quick motion. Oh, John.
I just want to formally understand that the select board approves the ambulance contract.
We're gonna do that right now. So I want to make a motion that we authorize the town manager to modify the Windsor ambulance contract.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Any discussion on that? Phil, any questions?
No, I think it's a good idea.
Great. All those in favor?
All right.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay.
Great.
Thank you, everybody.
So we'll do that, and you'll say that.
John, can we just move the chat over slightly so we
Can you just minimize that?
Yeah, sorry, I had it open.
so we can see?
There you go.
There was a bunch of people joining, so I had it open. Sorry, covering Phil, so I didn't miss anything.
That's just for everyone here.
Phil looks so much better now.
We can see it.
Okay. Next agenda item is planning commission update. And Dave is here?
Yep.
He is here. Dave, welcome.
Hi, guys. So I'm here because I want to try to make sure that we're talking to each other. We don't get any confusion about who's doing what and where. So on the Sunnymead appeal, we got some notice this week that the appeal's been accepted. Now, at this point, the town hasn't spent a great deal of money. I can't tell you how much more it's gonna spend. There's some money in the budget that you've given us that we're using or expecting. And I want to be clear that everybody who has questions about this understands what the real issue is right now. The appeal is that one can't come up with a non-legal term like, it doesn't stick in my mind. Aspirational. You can't find that in the legal dictionary yet. Versus regulatory. And in the response that the judge gave us on the deal, he said, well, these guys have passed all the other tests. So, we don't think your town plan's really strong enough to stop them from having a store. Our concern is that for 45 years, we've had a town plan in Hartland. And this term has come up, and it seems, from what we can see, seems to be somehow accepted. That if the town plan doesn't have words like shall and will, that it's not really regulatory. And our issue is, wait a minute, the town has voted, the board manages it, and now it's 2024, and what you've done is taken our town plan and tossed it out the window. Because if what the town wants has no weight, then the developer could come in and put anything anywhere, which is, of course, an extreme statement, but it makes us realize that we have to defend this case. Disappointed that more people out there haven't participated with us, but you can't do this to a town. It's just plain wrong. So we're working on that side. The other is that we're working on developing some way to tell the town so they understand that the town plan is not zoning. The town plan is related to Act 250. And if you have a business or you want to create a housing development, then Act 250 is what they have to use in order to do that. But if somebody wants to paint their house purple, or put a garage 5 feet from somebody else's house. That is not what the town plan is, it's not what it's for, and there's nothing in there that talks about that. And so we're gonna try to make that a little clearer, that this is to keep developers under control and not the town in terms of a town plan. Where we are with the town plan right now specifically is we've got maps on the table. We're starting to run out of ink for the printer. We'll get a bill for that, or at least we'll have to pay it or something. But we're now at a point where the language is pretty much done. The glossary is pretty much done. And now we have to make sure that the maps that list out the development areas match what's in the town plan. And we suddenly realized where we thought we were pretty far along, actually, we still got a big job ahead of us. I can't tell you when we're gonna hand this to you, but we're all talking things like October 15th and November 1st. And if you have any questions about the town plan, sir.
Mine is more one of timing. So you guys can do a public hearing on it before you
Yes, we
give it
do.
to us. So there's like a, notification period, right? Then there's like a follow-up period.
John's been very kind to offer to help.
Yeah, and then we have to do the same thing, right? Do we just have to do one? Each has to do one hearing?
Off the top of my head, I believe that's accurate, but I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, if it expires in May, then you start to back that up. November 1st is getting close.
Oh, my friend. It's like, how many pounds of you know what? How can you put 10 pounds of 5 pound bag?
Carefully.
Yeah. So, we're meeting every week. We're emailing furiously. But we've got to pull together in one place. I've sent them on to John a couple times. If you want, I can copy the one that came out today from Steve Cohen, if you want to see it.
I'd be happy to start looking at it.
Yeah, sure. And the other is we think that really we ought to have a meeting together at some point where the planning commission and the select board are sitting down together and kind of going through that. And we can do that anytime. So that as we're here, have hearings, people make suggestions and changes, you know about them. When you're holding hearings, I will certainly be there when you're holding hearings. And to speed it up, Jim, I don't know how we can, and it's unfortunate, but it's kind of where we are.
It's a lot of work. It's a big document.
It's a big, yeah, it's a big jump. And the other is, because of the way we were notified about the Sunnymead issue, aspirational versus regulatory. We have to be sure that everybody is getting a chance to say something, participate, and that type of thing. But the other is the language that we're using within the plan. We've gone through, and boy, have we eliminated a lot of should, woulds, coulds. And now we're looking at shall, will, must. So when you see it, there's no question that just because you think your store is close to the village, that gives you a buy to put a store there. It's very clear the language in it is, if it ain't in the village, you're not putting it there. For a developer. The other thing we're looking at is Route 5 and Route 12. And we're trying to come up with some kind of a plan for those areas to give to you, because we know things are changing fast, and the development guys seem to have more cards in their deck than in the town. So if that's how it's going to be, along with shall will, you better start looking at what our rules are, not rules, what the town plan for developers allows along those roads. With the idea that fundamentally the planning commission thinks we've got to create some space for young people to come in and buy homes. We're an old community, and without the kids and all that stuff, we got to make some opportunity for people to come back, or 15 years from now will be Norwich. So, or like Norwich, I should say. So we're working on that side of it as well. So what we're going to give you is something, I hope you're looking forward to see how 9 people have kind of got together, look at the town, look at the plans, what problems we might have, and do its job, the planning commission's job, of giving you information, which comes now from the survey we did last spring, the meetings that we've been having, and a town plan, and after a hearing, and hopefully a meeting between the board and the commission, we're gonna know what's going on, and we're gonna feel very comfortable talking about what's in that plan. My hope is that we do well enough with the town plan that hearings won't bother you. Everything will be lined out, it's there, we know what to talk about, you've got support from the planning commission in your meetings, and when folks start to ask, they're gonna understand, we're looking at a plan that's to keep unreasonable developers out of town and applying Act 250 as is appropriate. That's all I'm gonna say on that subject. I have other opinions, but they're not relevant to this discussion. But really, the town needs us to get this done, because this is what's protecting the town from having a McDonald's sitting down in my leadership. The last thing is, I want to, do you have any questions about that?
So, as far as the town plan is concerned, if you're just working on the maps and the language is done, you could submit it to us and we could at least read it. I think.
Oh, we will. I'll send you.
So, I mean, tonight. Because we're going to take a number of weeks ourselves to mark up. We're not just going to accept it carte blanche. Let's be honest. We're going to disagree on certain points or whatever. Yeah. So give us some time.
We're just trying to give you something to work with.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Because we don't have enough to do anyway. So we went to some more. So I think we need to do that. I'd like to go back though to the whole Supreme Court and what you did. And I'm going to speak for myself on this, is that what you did should not be taken lightly, and to do it without any discussion with us and to not know what the financial cost of that would be, I think is disappointing. So if we're talking about communication, and I understand what happened, that there was this, you weren't going to do it, you said no, and there was an emergency meeting. I get the politics of it all. But we right now, as a board, or some of us on the board, are struggling with how much is this going to cost? And to be honest with you, as a planner, what you're trying to do, I believe you're going to fail, because there's already been Supreme Court decisions regarding the use of shall and so on. That's already been decided. So if that's your reason for doing it, and I don't know, but it would be helpful to us to know how much. I know your attorney is the attorney in my office as well, is ask Peter Raymond to get an idea of what this is going to be. Generally, they're not cheap. And I certainly would hate to waste the court's time, and all of a sudden we decide to pull a plug on you and say, we're not going to fund this thing. So you should have come to us beforehand and had us as a board say, we fully support this, go forth and do it. You didn't. And so,
to be fair, we had quite a discussion here with the board one evening about what kind of money was going to be in the budget, and we would be doing things like the survey, whatever, those kinds of expenses, and
the environmental court.
Right. And when the the task of managing, or however I want to say it properly, when this landed for us to advocate, there was no indication to me personally that everything I was doing, or we were doing with this issue required permission from you, the board, because I thought we had it, because we had the case and we needed to go. I am completely understanding about agreeing to appeal it, and it surprised the board. It's one of the reasons I'm sitting in this chair right now.
And please, my comments, don't take that. And I think this is more about, and you brought it up, let's have better communications, because I work with planning commission. It's a thankless job. You work long, hard hours. People don't appreciate a lot of times all the work that you put into these things. I truly, truly appreciate all your efforts on this.
Yeah, and so I'm hoping we're going to be able to work together much more closely with understanding what each other's up to. So,
Tom, may I make a comment?
Take your comment as you mean it. I understand it. We're going to fix it.
That's Phil.
Go ahead, Phil.
Okay. Dave, first I want to say thank you for coming tonight. Second, I'm glad that I'm hearing about more flexibility in the town plan to meet some of the pressing needs for housing, and better clarifying housing districts, rural districts, and whatever else we're going to have. Third, I want to echo Tom's comments, and without repeating myself, we're very aware of what the budget is for the Planning Commission. And in my humble opinion, that's not enough money to stand before the Vermont Supreme Court and defend the position that the appeal that you're putting forth. So I'm not really sure, where you think the rest of the money is coming from without communicating with us and becoming more of a partner. And the final thing I'm saying, in which I've said this already in public, is I look at the Two Rivers Planning Commission as professional planners. They were your partners in the first appeal. And for this appeal, they and their board chose to not appeal. So I find a big discrepancy there and don't understand, why. And you don't have to answer this. It's a rhetorical question.
No, I can. I can a little bit. It was explained to me, one of our board members is familiar with this process, said the Regional Planning Commission has different goals and responsibilities than a town planning commission does. And the Regional Planning Commission doesn't have an issue that they can work on, but the town does. Now, whether or not that's so, that is just from a conversation along the way, Phil. I will find out what the dollars are. I mean, the dollars are everything. But I just want to remind everybody that the minute that store goes in, the village is done. It's done. There will be a snack bar there. There's going to be charging cars. They're going to sell stuff that isn't meat. I haven't seen a pig up on the farm that they think they're going to sell pork from. When that goes in, it's going to change our village. It's just not going to be there in the way we see it now. And as I understand our job right now, and perhaps incorrectly, as we talked a little bit, we feel we got to advocate for the town. Now, money is money. and I will help us find out what the story is with money. But the other issue is, we really think that by pushing this forward, we're protecting the village. And maybe it is a low sum game. But, I've lived here my whole life. And you want to put a store down there? Who do you think you are? This is the village. And so, I'm far more outraged than I'm expressing. Because the big guys are screwing around with the little guys.
Kurt, before you ask your question, just a clarifying question. Is it for the select board or is it a planning commission related specific question, which could be asked at a planning commission meeting tomorrow?
So what, where?
No, it's asking Kurt.
I'm thinking about your question for a second, so I make sure I'm answering what you actually asked. My question is about the testimony that was given by David Dukeshire tonight. I want to clarify a couple of points in it.
Okay.
What does that
Go ahead,
mean?
Kurt.
Oh, okay. First of all, David, you mentioned that you were meeting every week to work on the town plan, discuss and so forth. Is there a reason that those meetings should be warned?
I can speak. I'll answer that. Their meetings are warned, posted on the Town of Hartland website, and agendas are posted throughout town.
For the weekly meetings?
Correct.
In
Okay.
fact, we're meeting tomorrow night because the Conservation Commission is meeting on Wednesday.
Okay, the second question that I have is that the appeal to the Supreme Court, unlike the other appeals that have been filed by the Planning Commission, was filed in the name of the town of Hartland.
I'm going to stop you. That's incorrect. Everything that's with the Vermont Supreme Court right now is with the Hartland Planning Commission. The town of Hartland is not appealing the Sunnymead decision. The Hartland Planning Commission is.
That's an excellent answer. And okay, that's my questions. Thank you.
Great. Thanks.
I think
We need to move on.
yes. So, thanks.
Go ahead, Damon.
Do you want us to pay any attention to the tower on Sam Shallow's property or not? I understand that it's only the Public Utilities Commission and the Regional Planning Commission that has a voice. But one of the jobs the Planning Commission has is supposed to be, and it's a big pile of stuff, including energy and that kind of thing. Do you want us to go find out what the story is with the tower, to figure out who's building it? Is it really going to be 80 by 80 square feet? Is it really going to be sitting on top of me? What would you like us to do?
I couldn't answer the question. I had no knowledge of the project.
So in a section 6, the 248 hearing, they have to provide you with an application. And so in the application is going to have the drawings and everything in it. You can invite the applicant to come to your planning commission, invite us, and we would love to hear from them to hear what they have to say. They will tell you what the purpose of it is. My understanding, it's related to the airport, but I'm not sure. So if it's an FAA required thing or not, I don't know, but that's what I would do, is ask the applicant and get the.
Well, all I've got is a small notice, which I forwarded to everybody. Small notice saying that they want to build a tower there, and that's all I got.
So I would ask them to come to a planning commission.
Yes.
And then invite us.
Okay.
And we'll come and hear them out.
All right.
I have a question, just about really quickly, I'll make it fast. But it sounds to me like it's then versus now. So the information we had from the planning commission about where you could develop down there at the time that Sunnymead approached this, Are we allowed to make changes? So the lawyers look at the documentation from Sunnymead and they say, these are the rules. We'd still like to apply to have a building here. Are we attempting to change those rules now?
No.
No.
We're just saying that after this is over, these are gonna be the new set of rules for the next group to look at.
Yes, I think it's two things. One is they applied under the 2017 town plan.
Okay.
So that's the rules that apply.
Those are the rules then, and that's what they're still.
Right, the 2025 town plan will approve next year, and those will be the rules going forward.
And they're saying, we disagree with the judge's decision in the environmental court.
Okay.
We want you to review this, and these are our reasons why.
And I haven't heard those.
Well, he just sort of brought, we don't have time tonight to go through all that, but,
I've got other information that I look forward to you guys. I don't want to have anything that you need to see. I want you to see everything we're looking at. So, we're done now tonight. I'm going to send you the present draft of the town plan. It's a draft.
so wait, hold on. We would like you to be almost at the final draft state. We don't want to go through it and then say, oh, we've made changes to section 6. We would wait until you're pretty much done.
Boy, I'd like to know if you have a concern ahead of time.
I was concerned, we don't see it. We haven't seen the document.
Yeah.
No, I mean, by giving you a document, you may.
I'm happy to accept the draft now, knowing it's not a final draft, just to see where things are at.
It's public information. Give everything you want.
So, I mean, yeah, feel free to.
All right, we need to move on.
Okay.
So thank you so much, Dave, and I truly appreciate you coming.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, I want to,
you know,
we know there's been some difficulties.
it's
As
fine. All
far as I'm concerned, they're done.
right, thank you so
And I
much.
also want to comment too, just as I'm leaving, that, John's been extremely helpful.
Put your hat, please.
Okay.
Okay.
Next up.
I'd like to make a point of order that recognize that these meetings go a lot faster when Phil's chair.
If certain members would not keep interjecting.
Hey, whoa.
All right, we're now at budget update.
We are on a budget update. So in your packet, you have a budget update. This is through the end of September, which would be a quarter of the year. And it's important to note that if you look at the percentages, it seems like some were skewed towards having overspent in the first quarter of the year. We're actually at 24% through the end of September, so we're kind of right on target. Some of the big expenses that are showing, the assessments, the appropriations all went out. The $200 and some odd $1,000 for the Jennings culvert went out. We have not gotten the grant money back yet. So we have a lot of expenses that have gone out that we have not, that some cover the whole year, and some we expect reimbursements for. So we are at this moment on target for where we should be. Were there specific questions about the budget update as you see it in your packet?
I was giving that to only the first quarter, we can just move on and.
Great.
Yeah. John,
Go ahead.
yeah, so let me look at my notes. Under the highway expense, the summer maintenance on page 1 is only at 29%. Were your comments that we have a lot more bills coming in, or does this reflect that we were short-staffed and didn't get work done this year?
Under summer maintenance. Do you know, I was looking at that, and unfortunately Martin's out of town this week on vacation. I wonder, Phil, if my hunch is that represents the fact that this started in July, so half of summer was done.
Okay.
Remember, it's on our fiscal year.
Right.
Yeah,
So
we have a couple more months of summer next year.
right, exactly. So
Exactly.
we'll catch back up, in May and June next year with summer maintenance.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Jim, you had a question?
No, a couple of brain cells kicked in and I answered my own question.
Wow. You got a headache now?
Yeah. Like brain freeze when you drink your Slurpee and it's really cold.
Hate that. All right. Thank you. We're on to new business, Board of Lister discussion.
So revisiting the discussion, so circling back, we had state folks on from PBR. We also have Stacy in the room as well. Bob Quadrer is on vacation this week as well. So if there are additional questions for the Hartland listers, now is the opportunity to.
I mean, not from that discussion. I mean, for me, it was, fairly clear and depressing answer. There's nothing we can do. You gotta do an appraisal in 4 years.
So as I understand, we have a sort of a rough draft of the RFP. Do we know when that's going out?
So it's on my desk for review. The date in there is the first week in December.
Well, I had it to prepare, it can be altered. I had it prepared to put out starting tomorrow if we wanted to post it tomorrow with bids in by the beginning of December.
So I think a few weeks here or there, we're not talking 2030, right? It's not gonna substantively change anything. It will go out, let's just say for the sake of conversation, before the end of October. I think, middle January, sometime over the winter, we can expect responses back. We'll give them 6 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever the standard time frame is. So we're on track to get that out, or for the listers to get that out the door.
Just adjust that, whatever adjustments you think need to be made, certainly can be tweaked and it's ready to go.
Okay.
Yeah, so unfortunately, Christy kind of told you guys sort of what I already knew and have kind of conveyed to you guys before. And as far as a statistical, which had been mentioned, I did look into that. There was only one appraisal company that had a small possibility of being able to do a statistical reappraisal for us. If they could have an additional extension year added on to it. The state does not allow that. The statistical has to be completed within a single year. So everybody else has to do it.
I mean, I learned from the discussion tonight.
No time before we can get a
don't do a statistical.
Yeah, do the RFP.
Exactly. And I
Don't do
would
it.
recommend
Yeah.
this for the end.
Yeah, I think you're right. Okay. All right. Any other questions?
Yeah, I want to just express my disappointment when Christy Wright brought to our attention that if we're just getting on board now with an RFP, we're really late. And we knew that, and I'm just disappointed that we're talking about getting it out now in 2029 and the impact that's there. So.
All right. If no other questions or comments, I'm going to move on to the audit report. See, I can be fast.
And now we're moving.
And I will move. Audit report.
So you had it in your packet for the last meeting, and then in your packet for this meeting was the summary email. Bonnie, who was the auditor, couldn't be here. She has a standing engagement on Monday nights. She did include this email that you see that says essentially everything went fine. Martin would like me to tell you that the audit report said Martin is fantastic and has done nothing wrong ever.
I did see that.
I don't think those were the exact words in there, but
on the back cover, purple crayon.
right. And then you also, I believe you've had it as well, was the governance letter, which covered, there was 9 things that they asked to be corrected. They were all fairly insignificant. So by and large, the audit report and the audit went well. There's nothing of note to report.
Right. So I'll have questions. I'll try to organize the questions and give them to you in advance.
Sure.
I mean, they may not be auditor questions necessarily.
Okay.
I want to say I was very pleased when the cover letter or their findings said we don't find any material weaknesses and nor are our internal controls out of whack. So kudos to our finance department for another good audit. We may not like the numbers, but at least we're keeping the books in order.
Okay.
Okay.
Next, the Damon Hall rental agreement.
Right. So this is something we have not updated for a couple of decades. And Michelle took it upon herself to update it after a brief discussion, which was super helpful. So all we did was try to clean it up a little bit. We changed the prices to put us more in line with where other towns are for renting their town halls. We took away, we used to charge extra to use the stove. Now it's just included in every rental. There's no more half-day rentals. And then we included the nominal, the $25 fee for Heartland-based nonprofits and community service organizations. So folks still need to get the insurance certificate, but just something for us to hold the space, because it does cost us. Rob comes in and cleans and sets up and whatever it might be every time that the hall gets used. So those are really and just so we're all on the same page, this is only the inside of Damon Hall. Right. So, yes. Yeah.
No vendors.
No, we're not talking outside. We are talking only the inside of Damon Hall.
Yeah, this is informational. There's no action.
If you're happy with what it is, we can adopt it and put it on the website tomorrow.
Not an ordinance. I mean,
it's a policy. So,
are you happy?
I'm happy with it. It makes it easier for us to implement, because there used to be actually 2 documents.
Under 17, emergency numbers, you've got BJ Matson. Shouldn't that say highway foreman?
Yeah, it should say highway foreman.
Oh, that's
he may disappear and not want calls if he leaves us.
What? That's not, he didn't agree to that when he took that interim highway foreman job, but yes, we will make that change.
That isn't a permanent, it's still interim.
Correct. We'll talk about that again in just a few minutes.
Okay, so since it's just a policy, we just move on and we don't need to adopt this policy.
Yeah.
Under theatrical lighting, also the piano belongs to Hartland Community Arts. It's not our piano up there.
It's not our piano?
No.
I know the lights was not ours.
The piano isn't ours either.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a nice piano, so nobody should touch it.
Right.
Any questions from board members?
Yeah, we actually talked about this coincidence. So number 18 would probably indicate that you need to open the nature room when there's an event upstairs.
As a secondary egress.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bill wanted to say something, but he was muted.
Phil? Go ahead, Phil. Phil?
Yes.
Go ahead. You have a question?
No, that was not I.
Oh, okay.
Great. Okay. We'll make those changes and get that updated and put that on. Start using that policy then.
Sorry, let's put that down on the agenda. Okay, to make life easier, what is the next agenda?
The town manager update.
Okay, so town manager update, please?
Sure. So just a couple of quick things. So there's the Emerald Ash Borer Forum that the Conservation Commission is holding tomorrow evening from 5:30 to 6:30 upstairs. There have been multiple reports of Emerald Ash Borer confirmed tomorrow evening.
But I thought the planning commission was tomorrow.
Planning Commission is at 6:30 tomorrow. The forum is from 5:30 to 6:30. The Conservation Commission meeting is Wednesday evening. So it is in town. It's a problem that folks are going to have to start to address, and we will have to start to address as well as the town. So if anybody was available to attend, that'd be great. The Planning Commission has recently had 2 resignations. It's my understanding that both Dr. Little and Charles Jeffries have resigned from the board, officially resigned from the board. Charles Jeffries was also the Planning Commission representative to the Two Rivers Ottaquechee Regional Planning Commission Board. So they have the planning commission has a recommendation to appoint one of their current members to that board. That would require an action by the select board. You could also appoint two folks to the Two Rivers board. They don't have to be members of the planning commission. So they would like to appoint Steve Cohn to the Two Rivers Outreach Regional Planning Commission board. If you all want to take action on that this evening.
I just closed the agenda. Does it say action?
It doesn't. No, this is in the town manager. This isn't my update. So we can put it on the next meeting agenda then as an action item.
I think it's a technicality.
Okay. We can do that. So the highway, we have 2 highway positions currently posted. We've been recruiting, ongoing recruitment for highway crew. Bless you. And the highway foreman position got posted a week ago. There's no closing date, but in the posting, I said that resume review would begin today. So as of today, we have 2 resumes for the highway foreman position. And it would be great if moving forward, potentially a select board member would like to be a part of the interview committee. Not the one that's sick in the corner over there.
Just a sneeze.
So it would be great to move on that so we can formally get that position hired.
Yeah, so what skill set do you want? Do you want interviewing skill set, or do you want somebody that maybe has?
It would be nice to have someone who can speak to the highway department a little bit more. So truck maintenance, who can talk DEF fluids and things along those lines. Ooh, Trace, I'm looking at you.
Wait, sure.
All those who don't volunteer.
So when is this?
So it just began today. I can work with you to set up a time that would be, fit in your schedule to do 2 interviews.
2 interviews. Okay.
And I can get you copies of the resumes that we have received.
Okay. Yep. And sometime, when do you?
It would be, I will give you, what if we do this next week? We give you,
next week?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. I can send those to you.
You're out of work by noon. When you show up here for meetings.
Stop at the store with the rest of the guys.
So thank you. We'll do that next week.
And we don't have any responses for new.
We have one. We got one highway crew position job application today, in fact. I expect feedback from our lighting consultant next week. He and I met, walked around, did a tour, had a discussion about what options might exist. So we'll get feedback from him and then move forward with a plan.
My first experience with that, I had somebody tell me how much money it was going to cost to put those lights in. And I was like, gee whiz, we haven't even put it out to bid or talked to anybody about how much it was going to cost yet, but we already got the price. That's amazing.
So this conversation will come back around.
Trace, we have, just to clarify, Trace, we have the price from the engineering group. So we don't have prices from contractors.
Right. That's what I thought. Yeah. I was amazed that people were telling me that we did.
So one of the other things that I've been discussing with Martin is that currently under our personnel policy, people's leave accrual begins on their date of hire, which has been somewhat problematic in the past few months about, when do they actually get it? When can they use it? Just a point of discussion for right now is we're talking about working with Martin to move that all to the beginning of the fiscal year. So everybody is on July 1. The downside of that would be if folks left in August and we gave them all of their annual leave on July 1st. But it makes it easier for our benefits administrator.
Unless your first year, you accrue starting on your date of hire.
Correct.
But then every year after that, you start accruing on January 1st.
Yeah, January 1st, July 1, whatever it is, whatever the date we choose. Because right now I'm February 5th and Tracy is April 5th. And, there's a whole hodgepodge of date of accruals. And it's been confusing for folks.
No, that's part of once you're past your first year, oh, I see, when you accumulate another week.
Another week, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we prorate the first year, then just go from there.
Right.
And then we have a caveat that says, you take it all and you leave, you'll be docked.
Okay. Yeah, so that would require amending the personnel policy.
Yeah, but that's how we do it.
But, so that's.
A lot of times people had vacation plans and they would not have accrued everything before.
Right.
So this is a VLCT policy, so they start on higher date, you're saying?
They start on, the leave accrual starts on their date of hire.
It stays that way every year.
Means that, and this would clean it up and make it easier to administer more than anything else. So, and that is it. There are no broken trucks. I wish I had a piece of wood to knock on. As of now, there are no broken trucks. Everything is operational. We run into some glitches here and there with highway equipment. But by and large, everything is working as it should.
The truck that's being replaced, is it the one that drove over the plow blade?
This is I believe we are replacing the 20, not the all-wheel drive dump truck. The other 10-wheel dump truck is being replaced.
But is that the one? So my question is kind of, are we replacing the one most likely to fail, which I think is the one that drove over the plow blade? The hell be out of it.
So I think that is the one that drove over the plow. I don't know that. I don't know that. We are actually looking at potentially trading in both trucks, because we can get a good return on the trade-ins, and moving away from having full or multiple dump trucks that require a CDL to drive, replacing one of those with like a dump body F600, which are also substantively cheaper to replace when we need to.
But are they, I guess, look around the room, are they strong enough for some of the hills and roads that they need to do, right?
Yeah, yes. Yeah. So that's an ongoing conversation right now.
I want to thank the town for the new motor speedway we now have on the Brownsville Hartland Road.
And
see how fast they're going now? That we can pave?
Sure.
Yeah, where's the kind of sheriff? We might even put some lines on it. Again?
Put them on again?
Yeah, we're gonna put them on again. Yes. Listen, but can't win. We pave roads and it's complaints.
No, not complaining. It's just amazing. People were talking about how everybody complains now. The roads our back roads are so much better.
Oh, no, as soon as I saw that surface, you knew they were gonna be coming down.
I just
like,
wow.
This one's better. They're quieter.
Yeah.
A lot
It is
quieter.
not quieter. Yeah.
The last Jenny Hill culvert which put in, it's got a hump that we go over. Is that gonna be honed down a little before winter?
I think it's on sell.
The one that just
The most
above
recent one?
big culvert, there's quite a bump there. And I assume they put extra waiting for it to pack down.
I think that's what they usually do.
Should be packed down by now, I hope.
We will find out.
All right, so moving on, we have future agenda items, capital program.
So that is, I actually can speak to that real quick. So we talked with Two Rivers, they have that Thriving Communities grant. We can anticipate that work starting the end of October and November. They're still finalizing the work plans with all the other towns, participating towns.
And then we have North Hartland School.
They would like to come to the first meeting in November, I believe, to talk about their report that they're putting together currently.
So as we move towards the we're getting a report about the lighting, if we could get finally a full accounting of the intersection project that Jim has been looking for in a spreadsheet.
Yep.
With sort of the sources and the uses, that would be good.
Yeah, I think the good news is it feels like we're really close, right? We didn't use our contingency, the 15%. So that 2.25 didn't need to come out of the highway fund, and I think, and which confuses me why knots came in so far under budget. That confuses me a little bit, but if they really did, we probably could cover the rest with general fund surplus.
Right, we have one outstanding invoice that we cannot seem to pull out of the contractor despite our best efforts.
Out of not.
No, out of Comcast.
Well, yeah.
You'll get it.
Everything else has
Let me ask
been,
this way. Did they do the work?
they did the work.
Then we don't really care about the invoices.
It would be nice to find
It'll
it to
come
be,
out next year after you close the book.
to be done with the project. It would be nice to have that final invoice.
Okay,
And John, we have the chair of the library board that's asked to come to a meeting.
Yes.
That's coming right. I think our next meeting will be that.
At the next meeting, that's correct.
all right. Okay, do we have any correspondence?
There are a few pieces of correspondence. One is just a thank you letter from Windsor County Mentors for the appropriation from the past year. This is from Peter Gregory from Two Rivers Regional Planning Commission. This is their request for funds for next year. So it can either be an article or as it's traditionally been, just been incorporated into the budget. And I referenced this earlier when John Sanders was talking. This is the letter that we got from the Town of Hartford Fire Chief today, talking specifically about the reconfiguration of dispatch for the residents on the north end of the covered bridges.
Could you scan that and send it to us?
We can send, I sure can.
And that's, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Forgetting from earlier, it's not final, right? So you tie off with Windsor.
Right, and so we finalize it with Windsor. In the email that this came with, he would like an approval, which it sounds like we're okay with moving forward with this before they put this into their file and say this is the new standard.
So we authorize you to do the contract with Windsor and you can have the conversation with them.
Correct.
There's no contract change.
Correct. I don't believe this warrants any board approval.
No, because I think by default, you're in charge of police and fire.
Correct. And this is, operational,
Yeah.
So, correct.
Anything else? Okay, so.
Can I be a pain?
Sure.
If there was an interest, we could, if it wouldn't hurt to go into executive session to talk about personnel as related to the highway department.
Except we can't do it tonight because it's not warrant.
They don't, executive sessions, is my understanding, don't need to be formally warned on the agenda.
Was that true?
That's my understanding. Yeah.
Okay.
We can do that.
Do you have the reference for personnel? You're
Probably do.
You're Mr. Executive Session. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
There'll be no action from this executive session.
Yeah, we'll just have to make a motion on camera.
Phil, you could stop hiding your glass of red wine.
Can Jam leave the session on so I can listen in?
I'll just close it here, right?
Yeah, as long as no one else is on.
Yep.
You'll have to monitor to make sure no one else.
Hey, I like the new chapeau, by the way.
I mean, I got plenty to pick from, I swear, man.
Well, but you need a fall color.
I'm not sure.
You need a gold or like a red.
I hate to tell you this, young fella, but I'm not sure that's a match.
No, with the shirt.
You need the shirt and the hat?
Yeah.
Okay.
None of this.
So what do you think? How about a fall hat? You need a fall hat.
I have 2 camouflage ones. So,
All right, next time, can we, see a camera?
Hang on, I gotta pull up on the August 18th.
I have a bright orange one.
We'll take care of the chairs. No worries.
Nice.
No worries.
That'll get you some attention out there.
Thank you so much, everybody.
You guys don't even need the executive session yet, okay?
We're not.
No, so,
Yes.
unfortunately, I don't remember which is which. Lowercase a6.
Let me, 1 second.
It's not English on the.
Are we in executive session?
Not yet.
Can I speak?
Not yet.
Well, I think we're still on.
We'll pull up this.
We're still in there.
We'll pull up this handy
It'll be
book.
under,
It's 313A6, you think? Title 1, right?
yeah. think I can do a Google search.
And I don't want you guys to give me grief about long meetings when it's only 5:30 here. It's not even 5:30.
We'll still be out by 7:30. If we can find the reference.
See, look at that. We got out at 5:30 and our meeting, you weren't here.
All right, so we're on general provisions, right? 313.
One VSA 313.
Chris, how do I, can I remove? Yeah, you can remove people.
Executive sessions, I got it.
They're not supposed to be there.
Yeah, I'm like, how do I?
The dots,
Yep.
and then just,
Lowercase a.
Remove.
6, no, it's not that one.
Okay.
So we're talking about personnel?
Yep.
All right, then I make a motion under 1 VSA 313, lowercase a, 3, that we go to executive session to talk about employment or evaluation of a public officer or employee.
I'll check the motion.
Any discussion?
all right, we're in executive session at 7:19.
All right. So
Hold on, let me start over here. So, all in favor?
okay. So
313.